Alright all, and welcome back to another Let's Talk Racing video in association with Racing TV, and it's myself, Andrew, this time round going through my fancies for the Aintree Grand National Festival. You'll have seen Josh's on the channel yesterday, fingers crossed, and he took you through his main 6 or 7 fancies throughout the week, and I'm going to do the same. Just at the moment in time, we're obviously having a couple of locational issues. Josh is over in America at the moment. I'm up in York, not quite as fancy as going to America, I do understand. But having a nice little Easter getaway with my family, have always done so for the last number of years, so nice little time away. But as at the moment, we're struggling a little bit to get kind of in the exact same time zones for videos. But that will change in the next week or two, heading up to the Punchestown Festival. Remember, me and Josh are heading over to the Punchestown Festival for Wednesday and Thursday. So if you are there, please make sure to come up and say hello and hopefully have a good time and back a few winners. The Fairyhouse Irish Grand National Meeting was awfully difficult. Well, I found it awfully difficult to find winners, so fingers crossed Aintree can be a far sight better. I'm recording this on the Tuesday morning. The declarations for Thursday have just come in. Friday and Saturday are still a little bit up in the air, so you're just going to have to bear with me. Fingers crossed there's no non-runners from the horses that I do put up, but I've got fancies in and around kind of 7 or 8 different races throughout the week, certainly ones that I'll be keeping on side and that I will be backing. Starting off on the Thursday with the declarations we do have, and the Betway Bowl looks by far the most competitive race of the card, and possibly the most competitive race of the entire meeting, especially in the Grade 1s. You've got Shishkin coming up in trip for the first time to 3 miles. Brave Man's Game is going to take his spot, the second in the Gold Cup, brings the best form to the table on that count, alongside Conflated, who came third in the race. You've also got A Plutar, former Gold Cup winner, in there, and you've got a Hoy Senior who's got a brilliant Aintree record and fell in the Gold Cup 6 out when looking to have a very good chance. Galaw is an unfancied 40-1 chance, and Galaw is a very good horse in his own right, but he doesn't look like he's going to be able to match it at this level. Interesting news that came out just a day or two ago: Derek Fox has picked up a bad injury. Looks like he may be back to ride Corrick Rambler on the Saturday, but it looks like he's going to be taking time away to not ride a Hoy Senior on the Thursday. And the champion jockey Brian Hughes has been called up for the ride. That has sent racing Twitter into implosion. Apparently Brian Hughes is a fraud. He shouldn't be champion jockey. All of this, I hear it every day because I'm Brian Hughes' biggest fan. I don't think it's any disservice to the horse. He's obviously a tricky one. He does need to bowl out in front. He needs to get into a good jumping rhythm. But Aintree has clearly shown in years gone by to really suit his style, and he's really good around there. He obviously won the Sefton Novices Hurdle 2 years ago. He won the Mile of May last year over 3 mile, won over this exact course and distance. And I think he could do so again here in the Bowl. I know he had a tough fall at Cheltenham, and that's going to be very difficult to come away from. But at the same stage, he fell before the race really began in earnest. So therefore, I don't feel he's going to have the bruises that potentially a Conflated or Brave Man's Game may have. I'm a big fan of Brave Man's Game, and he by far brings the best form to the table in this race. And if he runs to how he's ran so far this season, I think he just goes and wins. That being said, he had a very tough race in the Gold Cup. He was a tired horse by the end of it, and as was Conflated. So I'm going to just take those two on, just on the basis of that count. Shishkin, hard horse to know what to think of at the moment. He was brilliant at Ascot. He looked lazy, he looked behind the bridle all the way round in the Ryanair. Kind of plugged on for a second, but his jumping was a bit skew whiff. Maybe the upping in trip to 3 mile 1 will be the complete making of him, but I won't be taking a short enough price if that's the case. Instead, I'm going to back the horse with Aintree form, with Aintree experience, and Hoy Senior looks to be the one for me. He's 4-1 best price. I think that's a fair enough price, and I just hope he goes and does it. I hope he gets into that rhythm out in front, and fingers crossed puts plenty of these to the sword. The Red Rum Handicap Chase, which is later on in the card, one of the harder races of day one to pick apart, and yet here I am trying to do so, and I'm hoping for a really good Lucinda Russell day, because I'm going to put up Douglas Talking in this race. I've been really taken by him the last twice. I know that's been in small fields. I know that's not necessarily what you need coming into a big competitive handicap like this. That being said, you look at the Red Rum in years gone by, it has suited horses that go on with the pace and jump well. Editor De Giet won this race a couple of years ago, doing just exactly that. The last day was up in the van for the majority of it last year, alongside Dancing on My Own, who came second. It favours horses on the pace, in good rhythm. This horse does exactly that. He's a terrific jumper. He was electric at Sandown the last day. He's still off a light enough weight coming into this because he's going up in grade. Stephen Mulqueen takes the ride. He's 10-1 best price. I think that's a very fair price. Moving on to Friday, the Top Novices Hurdle over 2 miles. Looks a hard race. Currently in the pocket is favourite in the anti-post books. Lucia's there. You Wear It Well is there. Found a 50's there. There's also a Ollie McKiernan horse called No Looking Back. And I'd like to preface before I put up the horse that I quite fancy in this race. No Looking Back is a very, very interesting horse. He obviously gave Irish Point, I think, £10 the last day at Naas. Only went down a half length. Beat Brazil at Limerick the time before that. If he runs at either Aintree or punches down in any race, I will be backing him. And that's not just because I know I back some of Ollie McKiernan's horses maybe a little bit hard overhead. But this is a really, really good horse. He's a really fast horse. I'd love to see him over 2 miles at either Aintree or punches down. It may be an easier race at Aintree, and they might take that plan of action going forward. You've seen Ollie McKiernan has had success at this meeting in years gone by. You'd have to probably go back a few years in the record books to get to that. But at the same stage, I think that could be possible. And if he does run here, I will be backing him, and he'll always be a bigger price than he should be. I'm not quite sure whether he will do or not, because it's been plenty of years since McKiernan has had a runner in the UK, and as a result, I feel this could be a likely race where they go 5 to 50. I thought he'd run last weekend on Sunday there in the Novices Hurdle at Fairyhouse. They decided not to do so, maybe spying a bit of better ground. I made a case for him on last week's video going into Fairyhouse, so I'm just going to reciprocate that case really again. I think he's got decent form in the book. He seems to want a little bit of nicer ground, and he just seems to be a really improving horse. I think the form at Corporate's Cross is pretty good at Naas. They were well clear third that day as well, and I think he will take some beating in this. He's 6 to 1 best price. I think that's very fair, considering in the pocket. I'm not sure whether he'll run, and I would like to hope the Found 50 might be able to be better than the mares if they do rock up in this race. The Sefton Novices Hurdle, the other big Grade 1 Novices Hurdle on the Fridays, the 3 mile race. Stay Away Faye and Hermes Allen currently both joint favourites for this race. I think one of them will run. From my perspective, I own, I would say, around a hair of Maximilian for the owners group and Donald McCain. He obviously beat Stay Away Faye at Doncaster. I think we'd all be kidding ourselves to believe that Stay Away Faye hasn't improved massively to go on and win the Bartlett. That being said, in this race, I'd prefer to be facing Stay Away Faye than Hermes Allen. I think the Albert Bartlett was a tough and bruising race, and I think Hermes Allen was given a pretty easy time of things when his chance was beaten in the Ballymore. I just think that they may keep him to 2.5 miles. They may just, if Stay Away Faye's fine, I don't see any reason why he won't run in the Sefton, and as a result, they're not going to run the two against each other. I'm just hoping that maybe that race will have taken a little bit of the edge off Stay Away Faye. He obviously was superb in the Bartlett, but he was tough in winning that race. He was tired come the end of it, and again, we've seen at Fairyhouse last weekend how horses have struggled to bounce back after tough races at Cheltenham. I don't know whether that precedent will continue into Aintree. Of course, these horses have another week to go and kind of freshen up and prepare, but at the same stage, you just have to kind of lug in the back of your mind. As for with Maximilian, this has been the plan all year. Really, the plan all year, well, first of all, was to go to the River Don at Doncaster. He ran a funny race. He dropped himself out of the back of the telly. I think Brian Hughes gave him a super ride to get him back into contention, even to finish in the first 3 or 4. And anyway, he nipped up the inside and managed to win the race. He's a tough horse. I'd be disappointed if he's not in the 3 in this race, personally speaking, because I think he'll put his head down and he'll keep galloping. If there's somebody that's a star, like a Stay Away Faye, that could be a potential Gold Cup horse, of course he could be very liable to be beaten by that type of quality, but I think it will need to be. I think Maximilian's a very solid bet. He's 6-7 to 1 at the moment in most books. I think that's a pretty good each-way play. The 5:15, the race after the Sefton, a 2 mile boys, it's the conditional jocks race, a handicap hurdle. I think Ollie Murphy's got a few nice ones in this. You Can Tango, I think, has been laid out for this. Go Dante's in there, Washington's in there, who was a close third in the race last year. All of them have their chance. The only one that I'm going to be very concerned about, and a horse that I will back if he does run, is JPR1 for Joe Tizard. I think he's a really nice horse. I think he's an improving horse, and off 131, I think there's still well more scope for improvement. Moving on to the final day, and it is obviously Grand National Day, and possibly the main reason why people are watching this video. And I'm going to give you one for the rest of the card, the Stayers Hurdle race. Again, it's a little bit like No Looking Back. I'm not sure whether he'll run or not, but if Meet and Greet does turn up in the Stayers, I know he's been scratched from the Aintree Hurdle, rightly so, given Constitution Hill is going to run on it. He was scratched from the Aintree Hurdle today. He's still in the Stayers Hurdle at Aintree. He's also in the Stayers Hurdle at Punchestown. Hard to know whether they'll keep at home or not. if he was to run in this race. I think he's got decent form from being second in the Boyne. He was third at Christmas time as well, and he's also probably a fresher horse than plenty of these turning up to this race. So at 14 to 1, I wouldn't put anyone off him if he does turn up. I don't think his price will contract massively if he's declared a runner, so I think you'll still get that type of price each way. So I wouldn't be backing him unless you're getting non-runner no bet just at this moment in time. And also the National itself. We've got two for you. Not reinventing the wheel here. Both of them are well enough found in the market. One I've backed in the race the last 2 or 3 years. Can't believe I haven't been paid out yet. And I do understand at this stage he's probably weighted out of the race. Off top weight, off 167, 11 stone 12, and it's Any Second Now at 16 to 1. The only thing I would say about Any Second Now is I think if campaigned a different way in a different life, he could have been a Grade 1 horse. And the way he goes around scooping Grade 2 races as if they're running out of fashion, he does it with a bit of class, a bit of ability. He may be anchored, he may have had his chance to win the National at this stage. He is an 11-year-old, but at the same stage, he's 16 to 1. And I just can't see him out of the first 5 or 6, really. I just think he'll run another solid race. He jumps round very well, he stays the trip well. I just don't see him running poorly, if I'm being brutally honest. And I think at 16 to 1, you can take that chance each way. And the other one that I'm really quite keen on, probably my stronger one of the two, is Longhouse Poet for the Brazzles. The Brazzles were awfully unlucky at Cheltenham. I think they had 2 runners. They were both beaten ahead. He's a very good target trainer. He knows what he's doing. Panda Boy ran a very good race in the Irish National just yesterday as I record this video. Longhouse Poet, he's been laid out for this. He ran very well in the race last year before getting a little bit tired late on. He had a tougher prep last year, and despite unseating at the first in the Bobby Joe, he was impressive up at Down Royal, beating Raw Mage, who I know a few people quite like at bigger prices for this meeting. And I think if he was able to translate that form again, just continue to improve again, Longhouse Poet could have the chance of winning one of these big races. He won the Thyestes last year. That used to be the way you had to do it back in the good old days, where you'd have a Thyestes or an Irish National winner the previous year, they'd go on to win the National the next year. Fingers crossed that can come back to pass. He's 16 to 1 as well. Anyway, I do hope you did enjoy this video. Of course, if you did, please do like the video and subscribe down below to the Let's Talk Racing channel. We really hope you've enjoyed the coverage throughout the entirety of the National season. We've still got a few more weeks to go to pump out a fair few more videos before maybe taking a month or 2 off to recharge the batteries, and then we'll be back next summer heading into the 2023-2024 festival season. So fingers crossed you have enjoyed it all. If you had, do what I said before, and we'll see you guys very soon.